What is going on, YouTube? This is Acid Root. So I'm going to review the third album by Blaze Ya Dead, homie. Basically, this album is called Clockwork Gray, and it came out in the summer of 2007. So Blaze Ya Dead was kind of a hype man. He was kind of seen as like early on, he was seen as like a hype man for Twisted back in like the early 2000s and such. And Twisted was kind of like the understudy and kind of apprentice of ICP back in like the late 90s and early 2000s and such. But the Psychopathic Records label multiplied pretty quickly, and Blaze Ya Dead was a cat. Like I reviewed like stuff like Killjoy Club and Dark Lotus back in 2015, early 2016 and such. I did a lot of super Juggalo type stuff around that time. It's been a while. I'm starting to recalibrate with like Twisted and ICP and some of them, but I just didn't ever get around to reviewing Blaze Ya Dead, homie. But I want to say I at least reviewed a Dark Lotus album, which I think he was a part of. But he was basically like Twisted's understudy and hype man at the time. Twisted makes a couple appearances on here. Violent J makes one appearance on here, and Shaggy 2 Dope produces a beat on here. But I wanted to start recalibrating some of this stuff. And it's interesting just because I don't know a ton about Blaze Ya Dead, homie, but I know that he at least had an understudy of his own on here, which is a cat named the r.o.c, who he was going to put out some albums with. And I want to say the r.o.c might have dropped some albums. Like apparently there's Psychopathic Records, but there's like a Hatchet House sub label or something like that I don't know about. But apparently like the r.o.c was a part of that. So there's just a whole bunch of stuff. I'm going to start really tearing into some of these more Psychopathic Records and Juggalo type music. And this is definitely, in my opinion, a highlight of that sound, at least from the 2000s decade. So I wanted to see about that. Twisted is on here a number of times. Like the thing about Wikipedia, it at least knows about this album, Clockwork Gray, but it doesn't necessarily know about like the background vocals. Like when you think of like Jay-Z's song Change Clothes on there, where it would say that Pharrell kind of did. It's not really so much that Pharrell is featured on Change Clothes as much as it is just like supporting vocals and kind of like additional vocals by Pharrell, but it doesn't really do that stuff with this album. And I want to say like Cats from Twisted, and I want to say like Cats from Twisted kind of do like some supporting vocals on here throughout the project. I don't know every single one. Like I at least know enough about Twisted, but not to the point where I can pinpoint every single song. So they may be on more than just 3 songs on here. Jamie Madrox is on here twice, and Monoxide Child is on here once, but they might have done extra vocals. And like the r.o.c is on here with some supporting vocals. Like I even went to the trouble of looking up some reviews of this project on Amazon and stuff, and there was like a couple cats that did like some pretty in-depth reviews that had said that like there were some cats that did some in-depth reviews that had said that the r.o.c had done like some additional vocals on here and that type of stuff. So that's just kind of the concept. So it's kind of, there's more to this album than what meets the eye, at least in terms of what Wikipedia and stuff like that knows about it. So there's just not an overabundance of information really even 16 years later to kind of mess with it. So it's definitely kind of a highlighted project, and it's going to get a pretty high score. I definitely support this project. Like Wikipedia does not oftenly know like the sheer singles that this album put out. At least knows that there was Toe Tags and Body Bags, which was the single from this project, but it just doesn't have a ton of information as far as really conveying stuff to really know about it. So this is still kind of off the side and just minor in terms of that atmosphere. So I want to kind of showcase some of it and just kind of go through some of these songs just to dig some of this up and just kind of say this is a horrorcore classic album from the 2000s. In my opinion, it's a classic Juggalo album. And I see it as just an overall kind of creepy and kind of ghoulish kind of highlight. Even though it was released in summer, I still feel like this is a pretty highlighted kind of autumn highlight just for a good kind of tone as far as keeping up. If you're keeping up with ICP and Twisted and some of those type cats, I would even recommend, Boondocks is on here, Cut Calhoun's on here, which was kind of a surprise. I like seeing Cut Calhoun on here. So just stuff like that. And the r.o.c is on here, so I'm going to have to check out some more of this stuff. This is just kind of a highlighted one. So the single which you have to go to like Blaze Ya Dead Homies discography to realize is the single, is Toe Tags and Body Bags. So very similar to Twisted, how they would only pump out one single just because the fact that these albums were manufactured was just really low key. I'd say if I had to guess, I would suppose that Clockwork Gray probably only sold like maybe 20,000, 40,000 copies, something like that. Maybe not really like an ass load or a shit ton, but just kind of being able to say, I think it sold enough to get like an article about it. But I think this, thinking this album went gold is probably not in the certain side of that. It's not like it's a bad album. This is very low key. So I feel like Toe Tags and Body Bags was the single. This has Jamie Madrox from Twisted on there, so he does a verse on here. they sound similar. They both have like a similar cadence on here, so it's kind of like I still need to get used to more Twisted. I'm still kind of like I messed with them 7, 8 years ago, but I need to mess with them more again. I just have kind of not messed with them as much as I need to in terms of being able to distinguish it. But Jamie Madrox is on the song, and like Blaze Your Dead's on here. They both just kind of go back and forth with this song. It's just a real kind of Juggalo club bops. I definitely think this is a nice highlight for like Juggalo type music, especially something at like a gathering, especially back in the day. Has like a very mid dance kind of feel towards it. It's a mid dance tune with like some synthy kind of jive. So this is definitely kind of a more prolific and kind of more jivey type tune on here. Definite kind of one to get some women to kind of shake their rump to and that type of stuff as far as that kind of goes. Definitely would have to say this has that this kind of has that pretty bumpish kind of feel towards it. Just an overall highlight, just an easy kind of song to kind of get things moving, and just kind of an easy tune to kind of get things moving and bumping and that type of stuff as far as that kind of goes. Just an overall kind of connecting highlight, and just the beat is just overall excellent. It's very synthy and just excellent overall. It's just a nice kind of club highlight and just overall low-key Juggalo tune that kicks ass. That's just kind of the concept. That's just kind of the concept. So to talk about the rest of this album, there's 13 songs on here, not talking about the intro, which is kind of just like just speaking on there. I would say out of those 13 songs, there's like 10 that I wound up recommending, plus one almost song. So that's 11 out of 13. So yeah, obviously this album's going to get a 10 out of 10. I'll go ahead and recommend the 10 songs and then the one almost song. So the 10 songs would be, it'd probably be easier just to say the songs I don't recommend, but I'll just recommend these. So the 10 songs would be Toe Tags and Body Bags, Escape Artist, Keep It Simple, Blaze Up, Ill Connect, Eggplants, Inside Looking Out, Wishing Well, Zip Codes and Time Zones, and Crypt Keeper. The almost song is Some of Them Thugs. So basically, the only two songs I didn't enjoy were just Dead Neck and EOD, which the reason why I didn't like Dead Neck is because that one was kind of like a boom bap kind of beat. That one's probably the worst beat on this whole album, which is saying something just because most of this album is quite excellently produced. This has like, despite how low key this album is, it has like a lot of flashy kind of pretty prone Juggalo type music that this is a lot of fun and real ghoulish and just overall grim and that type of stuff. But Dead Neck was just one that didn't deliver. It just kind of had more of a boom bapish, kind of starkish, kind of more beat that just didn't connect with me as well. It's too bad that because Boondocks is on here and I've reviewed him in the past. I do like him, but this wasn't a good example of showcasing them. And then EOD, which is kind of a song with r.o.c. They're called the Zodiac Imprint. That's his collective when he's with r.o.c. on those particular songs. But I didn't really like this one. It was kind of trying to be like a rock rap type tune, and maybe Blaze You Dead can actually pull off that style, but I didn't see it as much connecting as much on that particular song. So that's just kind of the thing. So yeah, every other song is like a vicious kind of highlight. I feel like some immediate ones on here would be like Escape Artist. This is the most popular song according to Spotify. I definitely like this one. It deserved the 2 million plays that it got. It's probably one of Blaze You Dead's most popular songs just on Spotify overall. This one just really feels like an overcast day kind of fogginess. It just really feels like a hungover type jam. Really something where you're kind of swashed as hell, just leftover drunk, that type feeling. Definitely some Waffle House wake up kind of sleaze. I just feel like if you're waking up 7 o'clock, a little bit hungover, bit just kind of induced somewhat, just kind of on that tune, just going to go to Waffle House, get some pancakes, just kind of wake up a bit, and coffee and that type of stuff. It's just some good Waffle House wake up kind of sleaze. Really, Blaze Your Dead sings on this song. It's just kind of one that I would expect from like Jelly Roll or Tech Nine or Cut Calhoun, someone like that. It's just very much like this swashed, this kind of morning fanfare kind of tune. It's not quite blue collar, but it just kind of has for those folks that work at like Waffle House or IHOP or like Village Inn or some of those type places that just kind of have some of that atmosphere. It just kind of has that relative aspect as far as being able to pay attention to it. So it's just an overall good one. Like Keep It Simple is a really nice one. This one has Big B and Cut Calhoun on here. This one's a real kind of creeping, kind of bellish beat. This really is one of the creepier horrorcore type tunes on here. This one definitely brings some horrorcore glare. It's just a well night-induced kind of creeping. It's just a real night-induced kind of creeping tune as far as that kind of goes. Just really kind of has that leery kind of feel towards it. It's just something I would expect from Brother Lynch Hung or something like that. It's just an overall nice one. Blaze Up is a nice highlight. Blaze Up is another kind of more recreational type tune. This one just has like a real haunting piano beat. It's real shrill and chilling and just gives some autumn vibes. It's definitely a highlight for some cool weather. Definitely feel like this is just one to kind of smoke up to and just kind of have like some differential kind of vibes, just like in the autumn and that type of stuff. Really kind of nice, kind of 3-6 Mafia-esque kind of piano beat on here. Just really kind of feels like a creeping song that you would see off of like Killjoy Club or something like that. Just one of those kind of creeping and haunting type vibes about it. Just an overall good highlight. And it's kind of a dap song. I definitely feel like it's kind of like a dap song just to kind of connect. There are some recreational kind of house party vibes. This one doesn't necessarily have to be at a house party. It's kind of more out and about kind of feeling, but it's just kind of one that you would smoke this on the go and that type of stuff. Definite haunting one. Ill Connect is kind of Ill Connect is kind of like another night creeper. This one's kind of like a minor club bop. I could say you could probably play this one with toe tags and body bags. Wikipedia had said there was a music video that was made to this song, and there might be. Ill Connect. This one is with the r.o.c. on here, so he was trying to push forth the Zodiac imprint that he had with the r.o.c. So that's a pretty good song. It's definitely one of the more club bop-ish kind of tunes on here. Definitely one for a night venue and stepping out. Just an overall after hours venue kind of highlight. I feel like this one is pretty much like the good follow-up to toe tags and body bags. Not quite as large and as massive as toe tags and body bags, but definitely a great follow-up as far as that kind of goes. Good, nice extra single to kind of get out of them. It's just got a real kind of synthy, kind of beepish kind of bop on there. It just really feels like a nice minor club bop. Good one. A real kind of surprising song on here is Eggplants. Definitely like this one. It's just an ode to kind of thicker women and that type of stuff. Good song for some thick ladies out there. It's just a druggy kind of ladies jam. Just a trippy kind of house party cut. This really feels like some house party sleaze, and it's just an overall good relaxation kind of song. This really kind of feels like distorted. I really like the kind of after effects of just how lazy and just I really like the after effects of how lazy and trippy this song kind of is. This is really kind of like where the smoke is kind of filling the house and that type of stuff. This is not so much like I feel like this is not so much like a club type affair, but definitely just for like trippy kind of house party where you're just hanging out on the couch and some of those type moments as far as that kind of goes kind of session. It's an easy kind of highlight for that, and it's just a good ladies song. I definitely think this is a nice one. There's not a ton of ladies songs on here, but this is a good connecting one. I feel like this one and toe tags and body bags would be two great ones for the ladies as far as that kind of goes. But Inside Looking Out's a very paranoid and leery kind of track, just some night fare, kind of out and about and traverse kind of song. It's just an overall nice smoking song. I feel like this is just kind of a good one. There's another song that has Violent J. There's another song that has Violent J on here called Zip Codes and Time Zones. That these are both two similar songs that are just very kind of paranoid and more looming kind of songs that just kind of feel more sprawling in like a night sense. This is very much a night owl and kind of demon time album. Like Demon Time wasn't really a thing back in 2007, 2008 when this album was popping, but I do feel like the concept of just some of this coded in nightlife kind of feels towards it. I feel like Inside Looking Out is just a very paranoid kind of one for just a nice smoke song, kind of like Ill Connect and Blaze Up and some of those type ones. So there's just some good highlights for that. Wishing Well really has like some low piano keys on there. Just really feels like a great kind of crawling gems. Just an overall dark, sluggish kind of tune for evening fare. Definitely some night owl music. I definitely feel like this is another one. Some of these are just kind of out and about, just kind of walking up the streets and that type of stuff. Just more night traverse where you're just smoking like a blunt walking up the street and just kind of going to like a buddy's house, something like that. Just kind of more night traverse and just like a sense of just like it does. I mean, it can be kind of cruising around, but it just kind of has like a lot more just weaving in between the nights. Not so much like a city tune. It just feels more of like local senses, that type of stuff as far as that kind of goes. Just kind of local, more in and out throughout residential areas type stuff as far as just smoking out and about at night. Just really some good ones for those sorts of concepts. Zip Codes and Time Zones is another highlight. This has Violent J on here, which is the only real appearance from ICP apart from a Shaggy 2 Dope beat. This is a pretty good highlight, Zip Codes and Time Zones. This is like a real nice Night City Traverse kind of tune. It's more festive and loud. I feel like this is one of the louder songs on the album. It definitely feels a lot more triumphant and kind of ominous in its energy, but it just has like some really ghoulish kind of energy about it. Definitely kind of freakishly kind of like ghostly kind of beat on here, and it just feels like a good smoke session. Good song for like a ghoulish kind of smoke session. Just kind of more than just 3 or 4 people. This one feels like more like 7, 8, 9, 10 people, something like that. Just kind of where you're actually telling stories and listening up and that type of stuff. And you know, you have folks to kind of talk and laugh and some of that type of session. Definitely like this one because most of this album's pretty low key when it comes to smoke songs. Like I feel like some of these like Ill Connect and Blaze Up are kind of more. I feel like Ill Connect, Blaze Up, some of these type ones, Eggplants just have like a lot more kind of low key kind of vibes about them. But there are some bigger ones like Inside Looking Out and Zip Codes and Time Zones that have a little bit more massive affair towards it. So a lot of this is just kind of very much the underbelly of like the sound as far as that kind of goes. But a lot of these just kind of have like that fare. I mean, most of these minus like toe tags and body bags and ill connect are kind of more in like a residential type feel, but there are some club moments in like a minor sense. But most of these, I do feel like at least zip codes and time zones is a little bit more of like a local kind of, it's kind of a local affair, but it does have smoke sessions to not just have it be like 2 or 3 or 4 people. This with more arduous kind of crowds as far as that kind of goes. And I do appreciate that. So this is good. Violent J does a good job on here. He has a pretty like shriekish kind of vibe about him as far as that kind of goes. He's on his typical creepy fare like he is, but it's a good one. And Crypt Keeper, I don't know if I've talked about Crypt Keeper, but I'm going to go ahead and talk about it again. This one's a very gothic and sophisticated kind of blue blood tune. This has a real nice overall creepy kind of feel. It's just very fancy and just kind of elegant the way it kind of has, but it's just a nice intro to kind of kick off the album. It's just an overall good one for that kind of creepy. It's just unlike most things. This has a more richer, this has a richer sound and just a fancier overall feel, but it still maintains that gothicness about it. So it's just kind of a creepy, fancy, just kind of a creepy, fancy type song. I definitely like the concept behind that. So that's a good one. And then Some of Them Thugs is the Almost song. Some of Them Thugs is the Almost song, and this is kind of like an arduous tune with like some bustle. It kind of marches along, and it's just kind of a tie up loose ends kind of song, and it's just a song to kind of get you hype. I do like this song in the sense of just kind of being the song to push along and get some stuff done, get tasks done, and kind of be triumphant and go about. And it's definitely a good evening tune for stepping out and getting tasks done. But I kind of look after it as just kind of a bigger stepping kind of song that just has more kind of motivational kind of energy than most of the rest of this album. This is kind of like the one that you would listen to when you're really kind of gonna get some stuff done and kind of have a lot more bustle about it and just kind of just a lot more energizing song. Most of this album is just kind of sleepy and kind of more dry. Most of this album is a lot more sleepy and kind of sluggish, just kind of in its pace. But this one really feels like an eyes wide awake, just kind of wide awake, just not kind of more sleepy and drowsy kind of feel towards it. It's just kind of one of the few songs that just has like that energized and kind of more hype feeling towards it. I mean, this album does kind of have some glaring numbers and definite kind of like smoke kind of alertness, but it's just not quite as pounding and quite as arduous as Some of Them Thugs. This is kind of a different kind of tone where I like it, but I just wonder how well I connect with it compared to what I would want to do with that type of song with just more bustle and how it marches along than what I would think of. So that's kind of the thing. But yeah, so I give this album a 10 out of 10, me liking all the songs but 2 of them. The social score, I'll go ahead and give like a 9 out of 10 because I feel like this album does hit quite well, but it just doesn't have like, yeah, I'll give the social score a 9 out of 10 because the songs hit quite well and there's quite a few of them, but I kind of feel like it's just off the side. I think in terms of the Juggalo culture and the Juggalo after effects and the subgenre of that type stuff, the psychopathic, twisted type feel, it connects quite instantly. It's just got plenty of highlights, but it only has one single. And that's this kind of thing. Really, 2 good club bops, but for the most part, this is a lot more of like a local and residential type feel. I feel like apart from toe tags and body bags and ill connect, there's not a ton of like songs for like going out in like a flashier nightlife. I do like the fact it's kind of like Twisted. Twisted does a lot more local and residential type feels, but I do kind of feel like in terms of that, when you're just kind of a more when you're just kind of around a more residential house party kind of gig and that type of stuff, this album works in spades. But when you want to step out for like a Friday night, go to like a bar and like some stuff like that, I mean, minus like going to Waffle House and like gas stations and that type of stuff, this album is just kind of more for just like local kind of smoke sessions out in backyard and that type of stuff. It's not like I have a problem with that. I like those kind of vibes, but I kind of, for like a decent amount, definitely crave more songs like Toe Tags and Body Bags and Ill Connect. It definitely would be useful. But for the part of it, this album gets a 10 out of 10. But just kind of that's a minor complaint, just talking about something if you want something to kind of have something that you just didn't enjoy about it. But that's just kind of the concept. It gets a 10 out of 10, 9 social. In terms of the future, like Blaze Ya Dead has been absent since 2020. He used to be on Psychopathic Records. He's kind of on like Twisted's Magic Entertainment label, Magic Ninja Entertainment or something like that. So I wonder what he's going to be up to. It's kind of been a while, but we'll have to see some more of these. But this is definitely a highlight, definitely in like a residential and local sense. But this is packed to the gills with gems, so you should not have much problem. It's a Juggalo kind of classic in my eyes and just has some overall good moments.